everybody, JC here with another T&I toy review. And for today's review, we're going to take a look at the new 6-inch Mortal Kombat X Quan figure from Mezco Toys. Now this figure comes packaged in the same style packaging we've seen with their other Mortal Kombat figures. You've got the black card back with the Mortal Kombat symbol on it. You've got the figure clearly displayed, and down below you have the name of the character and the Mortal Kombat X logo. On the back of the packaging, we have a look at the actual action figure, a brief bio, and a look at some of the accessories that come with it. Also up at the top, it tells us this figure is made for people ages 17 or older and not meant for children. It's a collector-only figure. Okay, so let's get this open and take a look at what's inside. Here's a look at the figure outside of the packaging. Now before we get into the actual review, I just wanted to address on the last Mortal Kombat figure review I did, a lot of you started chiming in on the comments indicating that you'd heard that the 6-inch line had been canceled, that the Series 2 figures were the final figures going to be released. Now that was the first I had heard of it, but I reached out to Mezco's own Mike Drake and asked for any kind of confirmation. And while he didn't actually officially confirm or deny the rumors, he basically told me not to believe everything you read and to stay tuned for Toy Fair in February for more details on the line. So I'm not going to sit here and say 100% that it's not been canceled, but I definitely, if you're into this line and been collecting it, I wouldn't lose all hope. And we should definitely get some more details, probably an announcement on more figures come Toy Fair next month, which we will be covering on Toy News International, so be sure to tune in for that. So moving on, the figure comes with a number of accessories, including his sword, which I think they've done a really nice job with the detailing on this. With the blade, you've got some nice sculpting work with the line work on the blade. It's done in metallic silver, and I just like the shape of the blade as well. I think they've done a really nice job with that. And even on the handle, you've got some wash work on the wrappings to give it that leather look. So I think the sword comes out looking really nice. Comes with this green translucent skull that is part of his powers. You see him throw these as an energy type weapon, and again the detailing on the sculpting is pretty nice, looks like a skull, and then the green translucent plastic gives it a very cool effect in the light. And then he comes with this pair of hands. It's also done in that same green transparent plastic as the skull. It's a pair of skeleton hands. So I like the sculpting detail, especially on these tiny little thin fingers. I think that looks really good. Now I don't really know what the point of these were, but you do see him wear it sometimes in the video game. So basically there's a peg on the back and there's a hole on the figure's back, and you just plug it in, and it looks pretty cool. And again, I really like the fingers and how they're sculpted. They're really tiny and look like, skeleton hands. So I think it has a cool effect. And finally, the figure comes with 3 different pairs of hands. So you've got a pair of open hands that are attached with the figure when you first take it out of the packaging. Then he comes with a pair of closed-fisted hands, and then he has a pair of grip hands for holding like the sword. And the detail on these are pretty good. The color tone, the skin tones of the white match that of the rest of the figure pretty good. And then you've got these little black markings that cover 2 of his fingers. The figure itself, I think Mezco has done a beautiful job with the sculpting and the paint applications on this figure. The detailing on the writing that goes up his arms, I think is gorgeous looking. It's a very crisp red and no sloppiness at all. And same on the forehead that goes up over his forehead. So I think they've done a great job with that. I do have a few paint speckles here on the one side of his forehead, and then just a sculpting detail with all these armor pieces throughout his costume, this weird head thing that he wears on his chest, these spike things for his collars. Now with these, this is a very thin plastic, and if you pulled it, if it caught on anything, I could see it snapping very easily, so be very careful with that. But nice sculpting, very pointy here at the top. You've got a nice wash work for that metal, which you find throughout the figure. This loin piece that covers his midsection, again, they've used a vinyl type material for the loin portions of the costume, and then you've got the plastic with that metal washwork for the armor pieces, which looks really nice. And then even down here on his legs, I love the skulls that they've sculpted for his knee pads, and even on the back of the figure, you've got nice sculpting detail and washwork throughout to give it that realistic look of metal and leather as you see in the video game. So the figure stands, if you count to the top of his head, is about 6 inches, and then if you count to the little tips of his collars, it's closer to about 6.5 inches. Comparison with two of Mezco's other Mortal Kombat figures, so the Scorpion figure from Series 1, and Scorpion is a little bit taller, and then the Katana figure, which is a little bit shorter. And then here's a comparison with some of the Jazzwares Mortal Kombat figures, and you can see the scale is pretty close. If you wanted to mix and match these figures from these two lines, you could. And just for one more comparison, here's a look at a couple of the old Soda Street Fighter figures, and you can see the Soda ones are a little bit taller in scale, but still, if you wanted to mix and match, you could probably make it work for the most part. Articulation on the figure is not bad, it's not great, but it's certainly an improvement over what we've previously seen with Mezco figures in the past. Head's on a ball joint, so he can look left and he can look right. He doesn't have a whole lot of up or down movement with the head. Arms attached with your standard ball hinge joint at the shoulder, so he can get his arm out pretty good. And the collars, with that collar that sticks out, limits some of his rotation, but you can still rotate the arm pretty good. He does not have a bicep swivel. He does have a swivel at the elbow. Unfortunately, he only has a single hinged elbow. He has a swivel at the wrist, and he does have hinges on the hand, so he's got good down movement with the hands. Now he's got this little piece that sticks out over the wrists, and that does limit him from doing his hands upwards. He does not have an ab crunch. He does have a waist swivel, though, and you can do down a little bit at the waist, but not really. Legs are attached with ball joints, but with this loin piece, it does limit some of the movement with the legs. So he can do the splits about that much, and then he can only do his leg forward about that much, and he can do his leg actually back more than he can do it forward. He does not have a thigh swivel. He does not have a double jointed knee, just a single jointed knee. It is covered up by the skulls, and he does have a rotation there at the knee. And then he has hinges on the feet, so he's got some up and down movement with the feet, but no real ankle pivot. Does have rotation though there at the feet, and 2 peg holes on the bottom of his feet. Okay, so that's my review. Overall, I really like this figure as far as the detailing and the sculpting goes. I think this is a great looking figure. I'm not a huge fan of this character, but when I saw the figure on the shelves, I decided to pick it up just because the figure itself looks so nice. Articulation is so-so. It's not horrible, but it's not great either. I definitely wouldn't mind seeing some more articulation added to these figures, but definitely it's an improvement from Mezco and a step in the right direction. So we'll have a full gallery of images up at toynewseye.com. As I mentioned in the beginning, the rumors of this line's demise, I think, are maybe a little misstated. We'll know for sure next month at Toy Fair, but if you're a fan of this line, I wouldn't be losing hope just yet. And we will have full coverage of Toy Fair in February on toynewseye.com, so be sure to tune in for that. So as always, leave a comment, let us know what you think. If you're so inclined, please like the video, and if you haven't already, please subscribe. And until next time, I'll catch you later.